like, I don't know, Josh lived in Penrith for a little while, and his house was like right on the train track, and Ben sort of commuted from from Gosford to Sydney in high school and stuff. So all of those sounds of trains and all of those sort of, you know, city sounds, I mean, they've been part of our environment for ever since we can remember, and they're just inevitably, I guess, going to come through in our music in the same way that, I guess, I don't know, maybe someone in Africa, the natural sounds might come through in their rhythms. For us, it's those urban city sounds that they're just naturally coming through and are sort of serving as our inspiration, I think.
Greg Anderson, Josh Green and Ben Walsh are the sort of people from whom you'd hide your favourite pots and pans. The trio formed Pablo Percusso 4 years ago and have been playing their particular brand of junk percussion ever since. Their most recent show was Industria, an exploration of their ongoing fascination with urban sounds.
Industria was basically a complete product of us living and listening and studying and thinking about the city in the last 4 years of being together. Just listening to, and especially the rhythmic patterns of the city, things like trains or just the way cars, the intervals between cars, the city at night, the hum of the city, just interesting musical, inspirational things that get us psyched about the city.
Yeah. So I suppose it's also too just trying to give a bit of legitimacy to an actual city sort of cultural form as well. Trying to sort of legitimise the whole thing of urban rhythms and that they are actually their own specific thing. We've actually sort of found out in our time that there are actually a few cultures that have drumming based just purely on train rhythms, and that's all they learn. And so it's sort of trying to just be a part of that and celebrate that the city can have its own natural environmental sort of form as well. That's a sort of main Pablo objective too, I suppose.
Yeah, get people to open their ears to the sounds around them, not, you know, it's such a visual world that we're living in, and everyone focuses on, you know, visual media, you know, TV and internet, film, whatever, and everyone's walking around the city and they're not hearing those sounds around them because they've just shut them off as noise. And we just, hopefully if we can get a few people after they've seen our show to walk around and hear that traffic light beat or the rhythm of the train and suddenly, you know, hear it more musically or even hear it at all, rather than just closing off their ears and thinking that it's noise, that, you know, that would be great.
The really sort of wild, frenetic bits where you go off, the audiences seem to react very strongly to those. What are they responding to? Is it some sort of primal urge? What's going on there?
I think everyone can get into the sound of a drum, for sure. Like, it's a bizarre thing that everyone responds to. I think it's because drumming is, you feel it. It's a very powerful form. Musically, I think you feel it. So a lot of the times you don't sort of sit back and go, that drumming makes me feel mystical and sad. It's more like, whew, yeah.
It's not an intellectual thing. It's just purely a gut or almost a physical / emotional reaction.
Often, you know, we play to people and I can see someone in the crowd that's not into it. They're just not really into it, or they're tired or something like that. And I'll pretty much just make a point of focusing on them. I don't care the whole gig, the whole show, until I've got some reaction, because whether they like it or not is really irrelevant, as long as it, you know, sort of evokes something and they can get something out of it.
You've said that you don't really like to be compared to people like Stomp or Tap Dogs, who also do very physical, rhythmically based work.
It's because it's such a limited genre. Even if we're completely different from those two other groups, which I believe we are, it is such a limited genre. And when people hear, oh, there's a group that plays on garbage bins, they've heard there's pretty much 2 other groups in the world who might do a similar sort of thing. So of course they're going to draw those comparisons.
There's many more than 2.
I mean, if you drew that comparison, say, with, oh, you play bass drums and guitar, you know, oh, you've suddenly got a million other bands to choose from, whereas here you've got 2 or 3.
Yeah, there is that thing of we're trying to play, you know, urban rhythms through action and stuff, where I think Stomp and Tap Dogs are shows, and they come from a show tradition you know, like South Pacific or something like that. They are in a very musical theatre genre for massive audiences to be played to mass, you know, sort of crowds and to, you know, tour with 3 different companies, which is something we could never formularize the show to that level. And I have a great respect for what they do, and I think they're very good at what they do, but we're just not really interested at all in that field.
Finally, I have to ask, an overwhelming thing that occurred to me when you were playing was that how physically strong you must all be and how sort of, you know, the arms really go, and I was wondering whether you were all great arm wrestlers.
That's how we met.
That's how we met, arm wrestling.
Yeah. We're going to join the Jim Rowe show later on in the year as junk-percussion wrestlers, but the Mexican transvestites beat us to it, so what can we say? It'd be a close match, I reckon.
But we do find it takes us, like a season like Adelaide Fringe, where we played 10 nights, took us till about probably the 5th or 6th show for our stamina to really kick in. Like, you have to really be playing every night to really get that energy that maybe you saw on the last show. Like, because we're not extremely active or physical guys in the rest of our lives, it's sort of, it ends up being, I don't know, our rehearsals are our exercise.